Okay, my beautiful friends, we really have to talk because something has come to my attention, and we're gonna clarify this right here and right now. All right, now before I start off with that, let's take a general synopsis as to what's happening here with several asset classes. Number one, stocks, at least for now, as I am doing this video blog, are higher across the board. Nothing dramatic. Higher nonetheless. Cryptocurrencies are catching a little bit of a bid here. Gold and silver is slightly higher right now. The dollar is flat. Bonds are flat. Just this morning, I'm looking at some of the longer term charts out here. I would be willing to bet that most of you who understand how to read longer term charts are seeing the same thing as me. It just doesn't change. There is something very ugly coming. We don't know when that is, but the longer term charts are hideous in my view. Absolutely freaking hideous. And that plays right into everything that we're seeing now with the Federal Reserve, QE6, recapitalizing the banks, is suppressing every single part of the yield curve. Now, speaking of that, this is why we really need to talk, and it's kind of interesting. If you were to turn on the mainstream financial channels, pretty much everyone is going against Yellowstone. Fed Chair Powell. They're calling this shadow QE, QE light. Backdoor QE. He said yesterday, don't call it QE. Of course it's QE. I mean, it's incredible that they think we're all that dumb. But look, even the mainstream financial channels are saying, this is QE. Make no mistake about it. But this is what's come to my attention here and how I started this video off. It seems that many of you are confused about why we're hearing about zero rates coming in the negative. There is a large group of you who believe. Now I want you to bear with me on this one. There is a large group of you out here who believe that zero or negative rates are going to hurt the banks, and this is part of the plan. No, you could not possibly be more wrong. Let me explain to you how this works. Bear with me here. We understand, couple of weeks ago, Fed President Bullard explained that the banks were demanding capital. In other words, he was saying, before Yellowstone outlined just yesterday that the banks were going to be recapitalized, well, again, Fed President Bullard said banks were demanding capital, so that he was saying, in a roundabout way, the banks are going to be recapitalized or bailed out by you. Now, yesterday, we heard from Yellowstone, who explained that the banks were going to be building up reserves. It's the same thing with a different twist. Now, why is this playing together here? You have to understand, this is a mosaic. It's every element of what's going on. This shadow QE, QE light, I call it the opening salvos of a major debt expansion. QE6, that's what this is. Now, why would the banks be getting recapitalized? What are they going to do with that cash that they're getting for free from the Federal Reserve? So that brings us back to this. Zero or negative rates. Now, we understand the president posted many times he wants zero negative rates. This is extremely beneficial to the banks. It doesn't go against them. Why? Okay, so the banks now being recapitalized can borrow cash directly from the Fed for zero or negative. Now, what does it mean? If the banks can borrow from the banks in the negative, it means that the Fed is actually going to pay the banks to borrow the cash. Yeah, that's exactly how it works. Now, so the banks have all this new capital. They're being recapitalized right now. What are they going to do with that cash? Well, several things. Number one, again, they're going to be borrowing this cash, from the Fed at zero at one point. We're going down. Rates are going lower. There's no doubt about it. The president gets his wish. We're going zero to negative. So the banks now get this cash for free, or they're being paid to lend it out. What do? They charge we the people exorbitant rates on credit cards, loans, every type of loan you can think about. So this is extremely positive for the banks. So this does not hurt the banks. If this were hurting banks right now, you would see bank stocks plunging. No, bank stocks have been rising. The major banks, especially the ones that run the Fed, you know who they are, their stocks are gaining. So for those of you that don't, see, this is what I'm talking about. People do not understand how central banking works, and they throw out their theories. Oh, we're going to take down the Fed. Oh, President Trump hates the Fed. Are you kidding me? By him calling for zero or negative rates, this could not be more beneficial for the banks. It absolutely supports the entire financial sector, who again can borrow cash directly from the Fed and get paid to do it. If we go negative, like other parts of the world are, the banks get this cash from the Fed, and the Fed pays the banks to lend that cash out. Then, on top of that, they lend it to you at insane rates. The banks don't lose. They will never lose. But again, there are those YouTube channels that are brainwashing. They are programming a lot of people out here to an absolutely false narrative. They should be shamed. They should be banned. Any YouTube channel that is telling you that the president's plan is to take down the Fed or to destroy the banks is telling you something that's 180 degrees off, and it should make perfect sense to you after what I just explained to you. Tell me how I got this wrong. If the Federal Reserve is recapitalizing the banks, allowing these institutions to borrow zero or be paid to lend out cash if we go negative, which I do believe is coming, and then they take that cash, lend it out to we the people, and charge insane rates on credit cards, home loans, auto loans, whatever it might be. I mean, it's bizarre. This is where we are at. It doesn't matter what's happening with regard. You look at the yield curve. Okay, first of all, let's talk about the yield curve real quick. Being that the entire curve is being bought right now by the Federal Reserve, the federal funds rate, there's no bearing on reality. This expanded and extended repo scam, no bearing on reality. The Fed is buying medium-term debt, long-term debt. Yeah, this is QE light, shadow QE, whatever you want to call it. But in my view, as a trader, as a guy who follows these markets, I think to the point of being ridiculous, we can no longer use the yield curve to gauge this market anymore. It's completely fake. It is absolutely rigged to the highest order at this point. And this does present a problem, I think, for those of us who follow the bond market, because it's not real. Nothing is real in this environment. We are in such a twisted, distorted reality right now. It does complicate our ability to get a handle on what stocks are going to do. But we do understand that we have full-blown QE light, shadow QE. The mainstream channels are calling it. It's QE, period, the end. I don't give a damn what Yellowstain is saying. Oh, don't call it QE. Are you kidding me? This is so bizarre. It really is. And not only that, people, you have to realize that these institutions are buying debt under the table as well. To the degree, we have no idea. It could be in the trillions. We have no idea what they're doing under the table. And if you go to the Federal Reserve's website and you see their data that they put up there, just like the fake core CPI, they're telling us that there's no inflation, you can't gauge anything from what they're posting on their website. It's all fake data. It's all fake. This is why I've been screaming from rooftops that we have a managed market, a managed economy, a communist market, a communist economy. That's what we have. But again, this does not take from how you and I can capitalize on this market. being that we know that we are in QE now, you will be betting against the debt. You will be becoming your own central bank, looking for dollar alternatives. It cannot be simpler. With regard to trading, there is no doubt. This has now become somewhat more complicated. However, as an intraday trader like I am now, I don't even swing trade anymore at all. I'm strictly an intraday trader. You need to take advantage of very short-term moves in this market. Hence why my quant system is absolutely for free for all of you on my website, traderschoice.net. Why I have a free day trading chart right on my website, traderschoice.net. There is also a swing trading chart there too, for those of you who think you can swing trade, and it's been pretty accurate. But to me, the game is short-term trading at this particular time, especially because I'm having a very difficult time here gauging the action in the debt market. I mean, let's think about it. The Fed's buying every part of the yield curve. Every part of the yield curve is being rigged. So how can we use that as a gauge at this particular time? I mean, there was a time when it was being rigged, but not to this degree. Now with full-blown QE, shadow QE, backdoor QE, QE light, you can't gauge it. We have hundreds of billions of dollars being poured into this debt market to keep rates suppressed. Rate cuts are coming. We are going zero. We're probably going negative. And this is why. So the banks, again, they're being set up. It's a setup. Recapitalize the banks so they can lend out that cash that they can borrow for zero or get paid to borrow from the Fed and then lend it to you at exorbitant rates. How can the banks possibly lose? They can't lose. If that means sincerely that the banks have to go deep into the negative and be paid by the Fed with cash that they print out of thin air, that's what's going to happen. The middle class is going to be destroyed. That's the bottom line here. The creation of a two-tier society is really, it's here now. It's among us. And I sincerely hope that you are not a debt slave at this part. If you are a debt slave, in other words, if you have a negative net worth, you have got to get yourself out. You got to do it by any and all means necessary, because you are about to be taken to the slaughterhouse as this moves forward. There's no doubt about it. You will be sacrificed. Like I said, people, the three enemies of man are being played upon you right now. You know what they are. Ignorance, fanaticism, tyranny. Ignorance seeks to silence you. Fanaticism strikes at your beliefs, your convictions. Tyranny will take you out, no matter how they got to do it. I don't know another way to put it. That's where we are at, people. Wake up. Anyway, with that said, I know this video has been awfully long, but I think it's been very informative because, again, now you understand why we're getting calls for zero, for negative rates, why the banks are being recapitalized right now. You're bailing out the banks so these same institutions can lend cash to you that they get for free or get paid and then charge you exorbitant rates. How do you feel about that? They have weaponized the entire financial system against you. You are a pawn in a dangerous game, and you are on the losing end. Love all of you. Please share this video. Get it out there as far and wide as you possibly can. If you're part of my team, please share this video. Almost 100,000 strong around this freaking world. See you later.